Enable.
Hello and welcome to the Forbes India CXO Dialogue series in partnership with Microsoft. In the studio today, we have some distinguished business leaders to talk about technology, the ever-evolving nature of work. We have Manish Saxena, the CFO of Adani Enterprises, Sachin Gupta, CIO and EVP Havells India, Rekha Taluri, the CFO designate at Microsoft India, Samir Agarwal, the CFO of Manipal Hospital, and we have Amit Jaiswal, the COO and partner at Grant Thornton. So let me quickly start with Manish. Manish, the role of the CFO, over the past few years has been changing quite drastically. In your experience, since the time you've come in, what has really changed, in times when technology sort of leapfrogs and takes over our lives?
So yes, technology has, I would say, transformed the life of not only the CFO, but all the business in specific as well. Like for telecom, when we operate from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, you have different set of customers, different set of aspirations. So conversion, whether it's more relevant for B2C, conversion of data from a customer-centric perspective into taking rightful decisions which takes the business next forward. So technology has been a big level changer in terms of the scale, and I would be very proud to say that that finance as a function specifically has contributed to this India's gigantic growth of GDP, which currently we are looking at a $5 trillion. In the next few years, businesses are growing at a rapid pace. Technology is a big changer and enabler there.
Do you agree with that, sir?
Just to highlight, a role of a CIO is truly to be able to understand the opportunity areas in the business and help enable the business, right? We do that by understanding the business issues, concerns, opportunities, bring that back, use technology to build the solutions, present that solution back to the business, and help them make the decisions which are better for the technology or better for the organization and take that forward. We do that by looking at the data. We do that by looking at various solutions. We look at by reaching out to our consumers, customers directly. As a technologist, we do two things. We help increase revenue and decrease costs, right? If I know Manish was talking about ROI, the way we look at or I look at things is if anything that we do doesn't increase revenue or decrease cost, it's not worth doing it. So absolutely.
Rekha, from your experience, after all these years, how has technology, sort of changed your role particularly and even otherwise for businesses going forward?
Our CEO, Satya Nadella, he in fact said, when you think about technology, it's not about implementing a solution, but, how you're using technology to be, to completely transform the business models as well. This is how one needs to think about technology. It's not like a package solution you buy and then implement it, right? Earlier, if you think about a CFO, it's about reporting, where are we in terms of, post-facto reporting, right? Today, the function of CFO has transformed so much. They are very much like, I should be proud to say that, CO -1, right? To the extent, the ability to influence the strategic direction of the company and also not only, reporting, but, for us, in terms of predicting what's going to happen, where do we want to grow and how do we want to optimize our operations and engage with our customers, from a finance function as well. We have seen huge transformation in terms of how, at least even in Microsoft, and when we look at our customers, how we are transforming the function.
So everybody spoke about, the changing dynamics, changing role of the CFO. How easy is it to navigate and do, all these changes that are taking place around you?
Currently, the CFO, as we are having a revolution. We are evolving. CFO 4.0 is the latest buzzword that everybody must be hearing about. And it is about, initially we used to live in the past. We used to report the past and be happy about it, 10 days, 20 days. Then we started looking at the present. I think so now the CFO roles is more about insights about how the future is going to look like, what is the FX going to do to the business. And as Rekha rightly pointed out, it is no longer a CFO. You have become a chief strategy officer. you have become a chief compliance officer, you have become a chief risk officer. So I think it's a lot of roles into one, and I still think that the CFOs need to get paid more than the CEOs though, for the risk that we take. But I think so the technology, without this technology and without the CIO working along with the CFO, this is a job that's impossible to do.
What about you, Amit? I mean, you are COO, not CFO here. What is your experience here?
I think the way as an organization we are thinking more and more of that decision making has to achieve the purpose and not solve a problem. And when I say that technology is a key enabler, so whenever there is a proposition to adopt a new technology, we do not look at it how much money we are going to save or how efficient it's going to make our processes. We try to evaluate it whether it solves the purpose of engaging with our people and clients. If that piece is solved, the cost and efficiency piece gets solved automatically. So the need of our business, at least from our technology partners, is to think of solutions that solves purposes and not really come with standalone piecemeal solutions on how can we make your processes more cost efficient or So that's of the past. The future is really how do we solve the engagement problem, especially in people businesses like ours.
Manish, I mean, technology is changing at such a rapid pace. How do you I'm sure there are challenges along the way, and how do you, navigate there in terms of adapting to the technology?
Adapting to technology for a non-technology guy is a little difficult. I have migrated organizations from a manual accounting to an ERP accounting, so you can say from an archaic way of doing accounting to 21st century with people who are of 16th century and 17th century. Hence, you have a resource issue.
Right.
That people don't know how to use a mouse. How do you migrate this guy to using ERP? But there are huge challenges besides this manpower. That when we are talking about on the go, on the cloud, not anymore on your data servers, hence comes the risk of cybersecurity. It has proportions to close down an organization. And we have seen numerous organizations being taken for ransom. People are hacking the email IDs. People are masking the emails with some other names which of your superior, sending a mail across to you and asking to remit this money to this. You don't go and check the email address, whether it has come from a Yahoo or a Gmail or from your company domain.
Right.
Hence, we are struggling right now with that.
But I'm sure Rekha will have, with all the challenges that they face, in terms of adapting. How do you
When you think about the advantage and some of the products that we as a company also offer as Microsoft, there's a lot of advanced threat protection that we offer to the point on email and all, our products, they do offer ATP solutions which help us, figuring out, what are filtering some of those phishing emails, alerting, making sure that, the spams and all are caught even before at the click of the button. And the good part is as we move, more and more companies transition to the cloud, there are multiple layers of security that is in there, both physical network securities, logical and data securities that are ingrained. And we prepare ourselves. Most companies, they don't even know that there's already a data breach. We need to assume that there's a data breach, right? And then some of the studies, they show that it usually after 18 months is when companies figure out there's already has been a security breach. Now, how do you prepare yourselves in a world like this? Companies like Microsoft, they invest a large amount of R&D to prepare ourselves and constantly hacking. And also, we also have teams internally which hack and then counter hack to find out what could be the next level of securities that we need to install, right? So this is where I think the benefits of moving to the cloud and also using the latest updates from some of the products, they help us counter the security threats.
On that note, we'll slip into a short break. We'll be back to discuss more about how they are navigating their way through technology. Welcome back to the Forbes India CXO Dialogues series. We've been having a very stimulating discussion. Samir, there is so much data that is available to us today. And, as CFOs, how do you decide what is important, at the end of the day for you in achieving the organization's purpose?
Every organization, according to me, has a limited amount of resources that it can throw on any problem. And at the end of the day, I think so whatever technologies helps give patient an experience is what will actually distinguish a good company versus a great company, even in healthcare. Our clear priority is patient centricity and in providing the best medical facility, healthcare and outcomes for the patients. But right now we started investing in robotic process automation for bank reconciliations. I'm saying RPA actually helps you resolve it once a day. It throws up issues for you once a day. So we are going to be investments in the front end, but equal amount of investments in the back end to ensure that both go together.
Sachin, you're part of one of the largest electrical appliances company in India. Right. What are your thoughts on the same?
Well, it's been said multiple times now that data is the new oil. Right? A company's progress or downfall can be determined by how data is used. The role of a CFO is not anymore looking at yesterday or today. It's about looking into the future. So one of the points that we always face as a challenge is the business doesn't ask us the relevant questions that the data can answer, right? So we can write algorithms, we can use machine learning, we can use artificial intelligence. CIOs of today are also part of executive committees where they can sit and understand the business as in general and understand the opportunity areas that are coming through and be able to answer some of those questions. But it really, really helps if CFOs come to CIOs and say, tell us where commodity is going. Should we buy raw material tomorrow or not, right? And those kinds of questions get us going, looking at data and being able to provide those business insights that will be able to help business take those decisions. So that's how data can help the businesses, right? It can help us by predict the future by looking in the past and present.
Amit, before we come to cybersecurity, there is also a slowdown that we are facing today globally. So, in terms of using technology, like he mentioned, predicting, the future and laying out a path for yourself in facing all this. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that?
For us as a professional services firm to be able to continue to grow in the dynamic environment that we are in, we are investing significantly in advanced analytics to basically give us lead indicators on what's going to happen, make sure that information reaches the lowest level in the organization who knows what needs to be done.
Right.
So it happens on an automatic route rather than somebody at the top figuring out what needs to be done, telling the mid-management, then to the lower management. And if you don't respond quickly enough, you will miss the bus. And one is definitely going to face difficult times ahead.
Rekha, data is the new oil. I mean, everybody as much said that, and they're also concerned about the security. Mm-hmm. So, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, how do you work around that?
If you take the example of Microsoft, we operate in 170 plus countries, and we have one version of the truth that everybody from the CEO to the VP of sales, AVP of sales looks at to the seller in the ground, but then we only want certain level of information to be shown at different levels, right? So it's using technology to create that access level security groups. The second thing I also want to touch upon is how we are using that data to, especially when there are economic downturns, or also when you think about large companies, how do they continue to grow, right? To invest in places where you want to invest. So this is where leveraging the insights of data helps us a lot in terms of what are the high customer segments or what are the high growth geographical locations, so that as finance, as a CFO, if you want to invest, you need to pick where the money goes further. So that's where the insights from data in terms of which are my most profitable customer segments or which are my most profitable geographical locations and all comes into play.
Rekha, that's a very interesting point on data and predictive analysis. Another concern these days is that about compliance. What are your thoughts, on the issue of compliance, Amit?
So absolutely, both compliance and security go hand in hand in many ways, and we look at it as a three-pronged strategy. Firstly, it has to be right on top of the agenda of your governance framework. So there has to be the right committee right at the board level who is looking at it, challenging the management in terms of are you doing enough to make sure client data, people data, compliance with regulatory requirements, global requirements, state requirements are all taken care of. The second part is our CIOs and CSIOs have to take care of in terms of is the right infrastructure in place. And the third, the most critical from my perspective at least, whether all our people are aware of what they're expected to do from a compliance perspective. So that has to be enabled through fun learning, through online training modules, some quiz chats, because it's not priority in their minds, somebody who's a 25-year-old, what really data security means, but to protect the interest of our clients, our people, and the organization, of course, you have to increase the awareness levels to a much different level, because that's where the vulnerability is the highest, right? As you said, if you get an email from the CEO's name, your tendency to just respond with something that you can, Right. And so, as I said, these three levers is something that we are impressing upon very actively to ensure that our organization is well protected on this aspect.
So as we come to the close of the session, let me hear your final thoughts, on future of work, as we go forward.
Yeah, so future of work is going to be very exciting, and challenge is increasing day by day. It is becoming. So how do you go about it? Do you go by facing that challenge with your guts, with the skills which I learned 28 years ago when I did my CA? The answer is absolutely a big no. Technology, in my opinion, is one such a skill which CFOs were not master at when we started our journeys. We have learned it on the ground. We are trying to perfect. As they say, perfection, is it a destination? I firmly believe no, it's a journey. A lot of companies we have been seeing have been reporting a lot of frauds which have taken place either by outside holders or inside holders. I'm yet to come across a fraud which has been meted out either by a stakeholder outside of an organization or of an inside of the company, because you have to understand there has to be some reason that it didn't take place there. So technology, I think, is the only lever which the CFOs can use.
Your thoughts, sir?
I think as a CIO, it will be our role, continue our role to enable the business, right? As the workforce is changing, I think we need to figure out a way where we'll be able to allow employees or otherwise, I'd say people in general, to be able to do what they need to do from where they need to do it from. I think the days of asking people to come to work, so the line between the work life and personal life has gone away, right? You do personal work at work and work during the personal time. So the technology has to allow people to do what they need to do when they need to do at their pace. Plus, be able to provide them the information that they need, which will help enable the business and take them forward.
Samir?
So data is the new oil, information is the new currency. I think so that's what has clearly come out. I insist my team, and I spend a lot of time with a lot of startups, Bangalore being the startup capital of India, and these guys come up with fantastic ideas. Have your ears to the ground. So customer centricity is what will get the organizations on. It is not that you push and technology onto the people, but understand from ground level what is that will really help you take the organization to the next level. And I think so there'll be a lot more opportunities that will get thrown up, and we are already seeing that in Bangalore. So great future ahead for all of us, I guess.
Amit, thoughts on that?
From our perspective, the most important stakeholders are our people and our clients. And the perspective that we have to apply all the time is how do we engage with them. So we have to think beyond enabling and efficiency, and engaging is the new normal that we'll start seeing in the future.
Rekha, your final thoughts.
The realities between physical and virtual worlds are blurring, right? In terms of we are living in a world that, where, world is beyond artificial intelligence. And there's a lot that is going to come in terms of, the advanced technology, how they are going to shape our experiences, both as customers, as employees, and all. And we need to think about, in this global world that we are living in, how those, a person sitting in two sides of the planet, they are going to come collaborate together and to have almost the same level of experiences. So we are living in a very disruptive world. We are talking about, how technology can enable to get the next 100 trillion opportunity. It could be both enabler as long as we are using in the right direction. It's up to us how we take this forward.
On that note, we've had a very stimulating and interesting session on how roles are being changed, how technology can either play good or bad, and how you adapt with it. So just want to thank you, Rekha, and thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Keep watching CNBC.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.